SMS portal. So how do you remember the general? Let us know all those avenues that we have also on our social media platform. As I mentioned, you have AM Live NTV, which is our Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 is our SMS portal. Dr. Mumunzao is with us, and I introduced him earlier to you. Of course, he's a governance and security strategist, and he will tell us more about this. Right, Dr. Mumunzao, let's begin with you.
Yeah, we mourn General Nkaissery, but at the same time we celebrate him. He is a forthright person who is all his life dedicated to service, joining the military at 24 in the early 70s.
Yes.
And rising to the rank of Major General, and joining politics thereafter. And you remember that earlier those years, President Moi had spot talented this officer and asked and tasked him to be one of his military advisors.
Yes.
So he's talented, and when he was brought into the current administration, he brought in a breath of, confidence and solidity. What I would say, as an analyst, as a professional in this area, is that he is able. General Nkaissery was able to blend the strategic, the operational, and tactical mix that is necessary to project an aura of an able docket that he was running, and that was very necessary. Apart from the political side of things, that was his greatest strength, to have that strategic, to project the strategic level as a cabinet person, as a cabinet minister, cabinet secretary, and then from the operational and tactical, which he had grown up through all the way, perfecting that recipe.
Thank you.
The whole way.
All right, let's hear from Dr. Mustafa.
Thank you, Debarl. First of all, our condolences to the family of the late Major General Nkaissery. Major General Nkaissery was a man of many talents, and he was in a league of his own. In the manner that he carried out his work, he combined, if you look at his background, this is a man who combined various talents. One, military, and then as a political leader in the Maasai community, and in his last posting as a cabinet secretary, he was able to combine all these and be that person that really focuses and leads the interior docket in this country. He was a perfectionist, and that meant that he did his work very well, and he demanded of the people around him to do their work very well. And Kenya was very lucky to have this kind of a man with those talents.
Thank you. Right, Captain O'Leary.
Thank you, Debarl. Like my colleagues, first and foremost, condolences to the family of the late General Joseph Nkaissery. Condolences to his co-workers and colleagues, as well as the his former comrades, officers, men and women who served under his command in the Kenya Army. All of us who knew him are mourning. I knew General Nkaissery way back in 2002 when he was appointed, or late 2001 when he was appointed the commander or the chief of the Western Command of the Kenya Army, based in Nakuru. And when General Nkaissery was appointed, a lot of people in that area, the joke among officers is that now everything has got to be straight. everything has got to be right, because that was the kind of person that he was. He had served Kenya from a very early age. He had dedicated his life to the service of this country and to the protection of life and property. A lot of people may not know, but he was one of the most resourceful officers when it came to operations in the North Rift areas during when there were issues between pastoral communities. Reason is that, of course, being of that ethnic extraction, he understood the way of the pastoralist, and therefore he became a resource. And coming to his community service in Masai Land, you would have, most of us who've traveled to El Bisil in Kajiado would know that he's a legend among his people.
Yes.
For dedicating his life and his wealth to serving his community in terms of education and giving them access to government facilities. But most important for the Kenya is the fact that, like all my colleagues are saying, he combined skill. He provided leadership. And actually, when he was appointed, there was a morale boost in terms of confidence in all the security forces, in that people knew that we have a person who was technically qualified to be in charge of that docket. That is the way we choose to remember him, because he gave his best. He was a man of valor. He never feared to be criticized. People may have disagreed with his methods, but he stuck to his guns where he thought he was doing things in the right way for the sake of the country.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Captain. Captain Urunga.
I don't know what to say, because people have said many things. The only thing I want to say is...
Did you have a chance to serve him, with him in the military?
Yes, you not even that.
Yes, how do you remember him then?
When I joined the cadet, he was our commanding officer. So Nkaissery was actually in charge of us for 1 year. He made us military officers. For that 1 year that he was in charge of our cadet team, all of us who are here now, we attribute, I think, our success to his mentorship. And you can realize that one of our colleagues is now Lieutenant General. Another one is General Kialangwa. So he produced generals. He has produced generals, he has produced brigadiers, those who took time to stay in the military. And therefore, all of us who are out here, even those of us who left early and joined the civil world, we attribute our success to his mentorship. So we've known him for a long time. I was also privileged to serve when he was appointed the Minister for Interior. At that moment, I was a member of the National Task Force on Community Policing. And he worked with us. He gave us a lot of direction. Before that, we used to have difficulties in Harambee House.
Yes.
But when he came in, we saw a marked change in the way things are operating in Harambee House. And generally, not repeating what the rest of my colleagues have said, we condole with his family, we condole with Kenyans who looked at him as a person who has brought some shape and responsibility in the security sector, a person who brought leadership, a person who brought direction, and like we say, he was hated and liked in equal measure, because when he stood for a thing, he stood for it whether people liked it or not. And his loyalty, I think, was beyond measure. We know when he was in the opposition, he was a loyal opposition member of parliament. When he joined the cabinet and joined the government, he was a loyal member of the government. And therefore, you can see this is a person who chose what he wanted, who stood for what he wanted, and believed that if things have to be done correct, then things have to be given leadership. And when you give leadership, you expect everybody else to take responsibility. And therefore, in the security sector, many people took a lot of responsibility. He was a fairly respected general in the military, even after retiring many years ago. And therefore, on a personal level, those of us who went through him as cadet officers before we became military officers, we know this is a man who believed in what he was doing. He stood for what he thought was the best, and he believed in whatever comes or whatever used to come through him, was to be impeccable and of very high standards. And therefore, even the Minister of Interior, while there are a few things people might want to say about him, I think generally brought leadership, he brought cohesion, he established this interagency mechanism that we are now seeing in this government, and the result is some peace that we are seeing and coordination amongst national security agencies.
Right, thank you. Many thanks indeed. And of course, we also want to hear what you have to say as your farewell wish for the late General. Right, you can hit us on Twitter. What are your farewell wishes for the late General? Hit us on Twitter. AM Live NTV is a Twitter handle. AM Live NTV is a profile name on Facebook, and 20505 is our SMS bottle. For now, let's see what is fresh off the press this morning before we go deeper into that interview. And we begin with the Daily Nation. This is what is on the front page of the Daily Nation. The life and times of total man. Moi Iro cabinet minister who died yesterday rose from an ordinary MP to one of the wealthiest people in the country, investing in almost every sector of the economy by cashing in on his state house links. You have his full report on page 4, 5, 6, 8 and 9 of the Daily Nation. Nicholas Biwott, 1940-2017 is the flagger on top there. And also we have here a bite from the president, the retired president Daniel Arap Moi, saying he was a dedicated public servant, an astute businessman, and a philanthropist who initiated community projects to alleviate the suffering of the KO people whom he represented for years. We pray to God to give the family of the late courage to bear the loss of their loved one. That is what we have on the front page of the Daily Nation today. Also, we can see what we have on the front page of the Standard as well. And it's all about the total man as well. Nicholas Biwott, 1940-2017 is the flagger on top there. Total man takes his secrets to the grave, mystery and secrecy. Biwott lived life of secrecy. Few knew where he lived. He never carried a phone. He was linked to Goldenberg, Likoni clashes and Oko murder. His wealth and monies remained secret. He changed cars frequently. He lived like someone wanted him dead. Why he did so remains a secret. You have all this well fleshed out for you on page 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of the Standard today. All right, let's see also what we have as a flag there on the front page of the Standard as well. NASA's new claims Uhuru has sensed defeat and is scheming to reject elections results and hold on to power using military and other security agencies. That is a story that you want to follow. Raila claims president out to hold on to power. This is on the front page of the Standard this morning. Also, we have the Star with us, and this is what is on the front page of the Star. Curtain falls on total man, Biwott after long illness. The end ex-powerful minister in Moi government dies aged 77. He was one of the wealthiest politicians and business operatives with interest in oil, plantations, banking and mining. And of course, you can see also from the archives the pictures of the late Nicholas Biwott. You can see him dancing with his wife. This is honey during the mayor's tree ball in Nairobi to raise funds for the needy in an undated photo. Biwott also presenting a report to former President Moi on the Kerio Valley, then the minister arriving in Parliament in 1997. This is from the Star archives. You can read also the rest of that story inside the Star on page 4 and 5 of the Star today. We have also the People Daily, and is carrying this particular headline for you. Kanu era powerman Biwott takes final bow is a story that we're following. Life and times of political supremo who bestrode Moi administration like a colossus, embodied mystery and secrecy that buttressed self-proclaimed total man tag. That story on page 4 and 5 of the People Daily today. Also, Uhuru Ruto to keep off poll attend meetings. President, his deputy, assert Jubilee Party to shun fresh printing bid as NASA demands Chiloba sacking. That is what we have also on the front page of the People Daily this morning. Let's move on and we see what we have on the front page of the Business Daily. Revealed banks with high account charges. Financial Sector Agency, FSD, names Stanchart as lender with the highest maintenance and transaction costs. Standard Chartered's Standard Chartered Bank's current account customers pay the highest maintenance and transaction costs among Kenya's big banks. A newly released report shows that story on page 4 of the Business Daily. Ex-Minister Biwo dies in Nairobi Hospital is a story that you want to follow also on page 4 of the Business Daily today. Uhuru to launch digital driving license. Also that story, licenses, that story on page 4 of the Business Daily today. Let's move on. We see what we have also across the border. But before we go there, we have Taifa Leo. Msiba tena is a splash on the front page of Taifa Leo. Mwanasiasa maarufu Biwo aaga dunia siku chache baada ya Jiji Kariuki na Nkaissery. His story is on page 2 of Taifa Leo today. Total man, mwanasiasa aliyeogopwa na wengi. It continues on page 2 of the Taifa Leo today. The Daily Monitor, government to recruit 4,700 secondary teachers. This is what is happening in Uganda. According to the Daily Monitor, each of the new 100 government-aided schools are to receive 27 staff, including 1 head teacher, 1 deputy head teacher, 19 teachers, and 6 non-teaching staff. That story on page 3 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Also, Mbarara varsity admission list also is inside the page 36 and 37 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda, and we can see Bobby Wine sworn in. This is Kiandondo East Member of Parliament elect Robert Kiangulanyi Sentamu, aka Bobby Wine, and his wife, that is Barbara Tungo, arriving at Parliament yesterday for his swearing-in ceremony. That story on page 3 of the Daily Monitor in Uganda. Let's see what is happening in Tanzania. We have also the Citizen here, and this is what is on the front page of the Citizen in Tanzania. Revealed Airtel's IPO pegged at 25 billion shillings. Flotation plan or plans come at a time when Vodacom Tanzania has extended its IPO by 3 weeks. That is what we have on the front page of the Citizen in Tanzania. You can follow that story inside the Citizen. Also, they're showing as a sidebar story inside your Wednesday Citizen. This is all about Biwo as well. You can see his picture here. Kenya's total man passes away at 77. This is also being read in the Citizen in Tanzania as well. Let's see what we have on the front page of Mwananchi. Geleja afunguka kutomrudishia fedha Ruge Malira. That is what we have on the front page of Mwananchi in Tanzania. A quick look at what we have also internationally. This is according to the International New York Times, and this is what we have on the front page of the International New York Times. Trump's son had of link to Moscow before meeting. Russian government sought to help father and hurt Clinton. Email suggested. That is what we have on the front page of the New York Times this morning. You can follow that story. Iraq celebrates a win in Mosul as rifts widen. This is a story also, a sidebar story that we have on the front page of the New York Times. New York Times. Businessman get a say on Afghan war strategy. Find all the details also on the front page of the New York Times. A grim measure of equality for women in blue, and long-term foes of British control unravel policy. Rule could let consumers sue financial firms is another story also on the front page of the latest New York Times. We have editorial cartoons for you, and this is what we have inside the Daily Nation today. Of course, we know the new salary structures for the civil servants. You can see here the pose of goons are saying, relax, we got tired of milking hard dry, time for plan B. And we can see they emaciated their taxpayer, of course, that has been, of course, made to be like this by the pose of goons. You can see they're celebrating the bones of soup there, and the chair of SRC, she's looking on. Let's see what we have inside the Standard today, and this is what Kaso has drawn for you. The retail crisis, of course, Nakumatt as it is right now. This is a clear depiction of what is happening with Nakumatt. You need it, we don't have it. And of course, we can see also people here saying, should we call for help yet? Yes, help is on the way. And this is what is happening, the debt crisis at Nakumatt. I'll leave it for you to decide for this. This is what Kaso has drawn for you. We have also the, we have also the People Daily, and Stano has drawn for you this particular editorial cartoon today. State and public officers, this is what is happening. Of course, a probing question, or he's wondering what is happening to the salaries, and we can see him slashing away at or cutting the wad of cash there that is what is happening currently with the civil servants. Let's see what we have also in the Star, and this is what Victor has drawn for you. We know where you stay, and of course the manner of accusations that the judiciary has and the flack that the judiciary has received lately. This is what Victor has captured for you inside the Star today. So you can grab a copy of the Daily Nation, grab a copy of the Standard, whichever paper that really floats your boat. We shall be discussing this with our panelists much later in the course of the program. But for now, the late retired General Hero Joseph Nkaissery has been described as a selfless, dedicated leader who did not compromise on security matters. Nkaissery was a decorated career officer whose service to the Kenya Defence Forces and the country was of utmost standard, rising to the rank of Major General in the Kenya Army. The late General Nkaissery also served as the Kajiado Central Member of Parliament from 2002 to 2014 and Assistant Minister for Defence from 2008 until 2013. In December 2014, he was appointed as the CS Interior and Coordination Minister, a position he has held until his demise. He will be remembered for his uncompromising stance on matters of security, having inherited the docket at the height of Al-Shabaab militia attacks in the country. Nkaissery quickly stamped his authority on the docket and restored the faith of Kenyans in the ability of the state to protect them against such attacks. Today, we hack back into our archives and retrieve an exclusive interview we had with him here on Standing on Guard AM Live in June 2015. Take a look. All right. Mheshimiwa, first of all, allow me to congratulate you on a remarkable job that you've been doing and, of course, what really happened in Lamu by foiling that planned attack by Al-Shabaab. Congratulations to you and, of course, also our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences for the soldiers also that were, fell during that particular attack where we had some of these Al-Shabaab militants kill 11 of them. But it's surprising. And as a good soldier, we know that there is that aspect of retreating, recouping, and then relaunching. And I know you're a military man, right? And of course, this moment that we have here is we're having a conference where you're retreating, and then you will recoup and relaunch. What is the theme of this particular conference?
Let me begin by, first of all, thanking you for inviting me to come to the studio this morning.
Yes.
The really aim of putting this conference, as I said earlier, that the whole world is now very concerned with violent extremism, which is taking root in almost all regions of the world. And the American called an international conference in February this year, where they invited regional security officers, especially cabinet ministers and other stakeholders in the security sector to come and discuss the ways and to give up issues and look at the strategy, synergize on how to counter violent extremism, which is taking place in almost all the region of the world. And in particular, our region, our region covers the Horn of Africa, the Great Lake region, and of course it extends, when you look at the geography, it extends all the way to the Gulf. And so our aim really of hosting this regional conference is to synergize all these, to get back and look back and how we can counter this extremism. And so we decided to host this conference, and we have invited quite a number of the concerns, especially within the region. We have invited 21 African countries.
21 African countries.
And we have invited the United States, we invited the United Kingdom, and of course most of the Gulf region countries. And so we want to bring experiences and share the best practices on how to counter this violent extremism.
All right. And as I've mentioned, of course, we have to retreat and we have to recoup and we have to launch. Let's retreat back a bit and see also how we've been managing to combat terrorism in the country. And of course, you've woken up to some of the headlines, like what we can see right now, that mystery Al-Shabaab visit leaves villagers in shock. You can see that particular headline that was on the front cover of the Standard. Look at that, right? Al-Shabaab also, militiamen storm mosque in Garissa County and force worshippers to listen to their rantings, right? And we are having a worrying or a worried Kenya about our territory, you see, where our integrity is being breached by armed groups like Al-Shabaab, who can also just, this is barely after the Garissa attack. And we have the Al-Shabaab back in Garissa, Ijara sub-county, and they are in the mosques, holding hostages, people who are worshipping there, radicalizing them, re-educating them as they were saying, right? The question is, are we none the wiser even after 148 students were killed in Garissa attack, that we have still militiamen who are just so easily having access into the mosque, all the region of Garissa?
No. I think you are looking terrorists as somebody known to be there. A terrorist is not a conventional enemy where you know the number, the location, and then you can deal with. As you put it, treat, move back a little bit, consider the consequences, consider the factors. The issue of, first of all, this conference is dealing with the violent extremism, the issues of radicalization. You get in the stage, before I come to terrorists,
yes,
which you really, you are targeting. Radicalization has got several stages. The first stage is pre-radicalization. The second is personal identification. You want to identify yourself with a specific ideology, an ideology you want to believe in. And the second one, you are now radicalized, indoctrinated, meaning you have now accepted that ideology. And the third and the last stage is you now become a violent extremist. Becoming a violent extremist, you transit to a terrorist. You become a terrorist. And so what we are doing in this conference, we are looking at how to reverse the radicalization so that we can counter violent extremism.
Which we should come into a bit. Of course, we have a lengthy discussion on that, on how you have the radicalizing program.
Yeah, but what your first question was, how does Kenya, was Kenya sleeping? I mean, that was your question.
Yes, are we none the wiser? We had 148, yet the
terrorists to come into the mosque, harass citizen, and so on and so forth. Our intelligence is extremely effective. And it's really what happened in Lamu the other day. It's because of the intelligence. You must match resources with a threat. The first resource is the intelligence, human intelligence. The next is signal intelligence or communication intelligence. Where do we communicate? Like in the messaging? Do people knew in Ijara, did they know that these people are coming? They didn't at that particular time.
Yes.
Right? So, but when we got the information, we reacted, and that's why those fellows went. But you also must understand, these terrorists, the actual Al-Shabaab, we have not identified whether are they part and parcel of their radicalized youth from Kenya. So this is an issue which we are looking into and critical to analyze if the people who are terrorizing people in Ijara were really radicalized from Kenya or actual Al-Shabaab terrorists from Somalia.
How then do you explain that soldiers from Ethiopia are also breaching security at the Kenya police post, still in Garissa, right? And they have AK-47 rifles, they have even 10 vehicles. They come and they take pictures at the police station and they go away, right? And this is just barely happening after the Garissa attack. Then we can see also we have these militiamen also going to the mosques, holding hostages some of the worshippers, and also the Ethiopian soldiers. There is a lot of activity happening there, and yet we expect that place to be heightened security-wise.
No, first of all, you must understand the geography of Kenya, right? There is no Ethiopian bordering Garissa.
Yes.
So the Ethiopian border is Moyale. Moyale,
Yes.
right? The incident which happened in the Ethiopian government actually politically and diplomatically apologized for the incursion because they were pursuing what they believed to have been OLF, rebels who are also harassing Ethiopian. And they thought these fellows came into our border. But government to government, we discussed this issue and we resolved. But the main issue in the Garissa, in our border between Kenya and Somalia, is the Al-Shabaab menace, right?
Yes.
And this is where our main effort, because Ethiopia is a friendly country, we share common, we share intelligence, we understand each other. So the incursion which occurred in the Moyale border was actually an incident which the Ethiopians themselves, you know, sometimes the troops even themselves in the front line can make mistakes. And that we cannot pin down and say, Ethiopia is an enemy of Kenya, so we must pursue the Ethiopian army and deal with them. No, because we are friendly nation to each other. We deal this diplomatically. Why did you do this? And they have apologized on this issue. So we do not have to pursue on that issue. What we need really to concentrate on is the problem between Kenya and the Somali border, which is a problem. And this is why now we have the Al-Shabaab operating from the other side. The main problem, the main concern of Kenya today, and this is very important for me to tell our citizens, is that we have African Union, AMISOM.
Yes.
AMISOM or mission in Somalia. They should have been the institution or the force to neutralize Al-Shabaab within the Somali territory.
Yes.
Helping the Somali National Army to deal with Al-Shabaab. And so the mandate of that force was given by the African Union. And you see, we in Kenya, we are supposed now to take care of our border, you know, defending the borders, refusing the entry of Al-Shabaab or of the terrorists to come to our country. But sometimes they sneak in, like what happened in Ijara. And unfortunately, they did not hurt anybody, but they just caused despondency and they went back. So we are on top of this as far as the intelligence is concerned.
All right. But if we are on top of this, why is Somali National Army Commander Yasin Bare Hassan in the Gedo region claims that Kenya is ignoring intelligence information about Al-Shabaab? And he says also a senior official there, immediately next to Kenya, claimed some senior Kenya security officials, they turn a blind eye to the Al-Shabaab. And he says, this is what he says. He says, Kenya is not serious in the fight against Al-Shabaab. This is some 2 weeks ago. We gave names of individuals we knew to have links with terror networks in Somalia and who are in Mandera County. There were 14, including 2 whites. But Kenya officials did not do anything about it.
Well, this is a serious allegation, my friend, because if we knew, if they had told us this, we would, or we could have arrested these fellows if they were in Kenya. We cannot, by law, enter Somalia to operate within Somalia. As I say, it is AMISOM mandate to do that. Did they give
They were crossing over from Somalia to Kenya, and they gave intelligence about this, yet there was no reaction from the government.
Would you believe somebody from Somalia telling us, so many people cross into Kenya and we don't take action? I mean, it is our responsibility, really, to deal with any threat within our country. So this guy, who actually maybe he spoke with the nation, I'm just hearing this from you for the first time. Yeah.
All right, so you're not even privy to this
I'm not even privy to this allegation. Yeah. And if it was true, our NIS, our National Intelligence Service, would have informed me and action could have been taken.
All right, because if you follow this particular story, you see these particular militants, they went to the mosques and they were trying to indoctrinate the worshippers there, trying to re-educate them. And they said they wanted also to go and ambush police stations, and they were looking also for the county officers and even chiefs, right? And this was information that they were asking people from different areas around the area about police reserves and also police stations and military posts. Then we take a trajectory. A few weeks after that, there's a chief that is killed in Wajir. Wasn't this a very germane information, or a sort of an intelligence that was not really acted on? That maybe, perhaps, if we followed through with these allegations that this particular commander is saying this particular killing of the officer in Wajir, of the chief in Wajir, should have been averted?
Let me say, these fellows, they came to Ijara, they entered the mosque.
Yes.
They were just making the normal noise of trying to scare the populace to believe in what these people are doing, to believe in the ideology. But they never, and let me be very specific, the incident of Ijara is totally isolated from the incident of Wajir, the killing of the chief in Wajir. The main reason, we are following some leads. As you know, the chief from the Wajir, the killing of the chief in Wajir, was killed at 8 o'clock in the evening. He was coming from the mosque in a group of other two other chiefs, one retired chief, one assistant chief, and they fire in the air, they scared the other guys, but they went for the specific chief, which means the information we have, and we are following this, it could have been an inside arrangement or an inside job. So we are looking at if this is an Al-Shabaab attack or this is a normal criminal incident.
All right. Okay, now we have this particular conference, and of course we're talking about tactics and strategies, right? And of course pundits have been raising accusatory fingers towards the government, saying, you know, the strategy is not really working. What is really working or has worked so far is the amnesty. Do you so far hail the amnesty that, yes, was put forward by your ministry a success yourself?
Very soon. Yeah, the amnesty has really produced very, very good results. We have almost, as I speak to you now, roughly over 200 returnees, young men, which we are now rehabilitating.
Yes.
Eventually, we do the rehabilitation, and after that, we do the reintegration,
yes.
And eventually we take back to their families, and it's taking off very, very, very well. And the other day, I sent a team down to Kwale, a team of the clergy and some of my officers to go and talk to these youth, and they have government programs which aims at improving the life of these young men. And so that one is very positive. The results are positive, and we intend to continue. But what I want to say here, people expect the government to tell the citizen, the people who have returned by names. But you should realize that these people, when they come back, they have two problems. One, they have a problem of acceptance. Two, they have a problem of follow-up by the Al-Shabaab. They could be followed to, because the Al-Shabaab will think that they are going to expose them. And so, obviously, these guys are both sides. Some people say these are the people who kill our people. And so if you expose them, they may go for them. At the same time, if you expose them, the Al-Shabaab will know these are the same people we trained or we did this. So we will go for them as well. So we cannot expose. It's like what the people are demanding, the list from Duale. You know, I mean, tell us the name of these people. I mean, it would be irresponsible of the government to say, so and so is the one who gave us this list.
Yeah, but on that note also, you've been a bit very soft on Duale, you know, when actually is coming forth with such allegations that, yes, we have a list, then he recants. What should the government's acts be, especially in such a scenario where we have a very credible public officer or, sort of MP, you know, somebody that we take
leader of government,
yeah, very seriously. But we see from the reaction from the government also is a bit wanting.
No. You see, my friend, nobody has recanted ever the information. The problem is we can't tell you these people, but we have them. Right? The other day, you remember we gazetted so many entities. There was, we expected to be sponsoring. We gazetted the name of individuals. So, I mean, but we cannot tell you these were the lists which were given by so and so.
Okay.
You get the point?
Mheshimiwa, I have less time, but we've got a lot to cover, right? We're really strapped for time. I want us to take this strategy that, of course, the amnesty is really working on your side, but you realize that the way the government also has been approaching on countering terrorism has been a bit operational, you know, militarized, sort of, you know, putting out the fire. Are you realizing right now that that is not the strategy, that this is more strategic because it's a battle of ideology? As you mentioned, of course, it's an ideology, a person that has been indoctrinated at a very tender age. So have we been batting our heads on the wall, you know, with the tactics that is just militarized, it's operational. But right now we are realizing that it should be strategic.
Really, the main of this conference is really to come out, to strategize on how to diffuse radicalization to take place in our region. Really, that is the aim. And as I said, if you want to begin this strategy, this conference aims at coming up with that strategy. For us in Kenya specific, how can we de-radicalize the youth? How can we make the youth be part of the society?
So de-radicalization is just one aspect of the program within the strategy.
Absolutely. And if you do the, you know, the stages of and I want to be very specific, reversing radicalization. To reverse radicalization, you have 4 stages. And they are very, very critical. And this is very, very important for our country. This is something which we want to bring on board in this conference. One, we have what is called the radicalization stage. This means you create a disengagement. You disengage the individual from the radicalized team. You actually woo them. You know, as I said earlier, once you get that out, you know, you have to convince these fellows that what you are doing is wrong. What this ideology is not taking you anywhere, you know. And this is done by the clergy. This is done by, I mean, the community, and the government will support this. And then once we do that, we bring rehabilitation. We bring these fellows to a rehabilitation kind of a program, like what you are doing. We want to, you know, what do you want to do? We tell you how good it is to be a good citizen. We take them through. There's a process. When you complete that stage, and this is the critical stage, and this, the youth, our youth, when you bring them to that level now, and we know now they are fully rehabilitated, we reintegrate them. Now we take them back to the society. You know, they are now receptive. We bring issues like the WESO fund, the youth fund. We get them, they become active citizens. They are totally now reintegrated into the society. So this is a strategy we are developing. And this is a strategy we want to implement. Yeah.
All right, Mheshimiwa, we're really strapped for time. I have a lot to really cover on this and ask you, especially when it comes to preparedness, when it comes also to prevention, response, and recovery. That is another concept that also we wanted to know what the government is actually doing on this. But I want to thank you so much for coming through. Promise me you'll come back, that we finish all these questions that are still pending.
Why can't you continue to finish?
Because we're strapped for time, we have to wind up right now. It is 7:30.
All right.
My time is up.
Okay.
Right? That's why I wanted you early, right? So that we can continue.
But I was told I should be here at 10 to.
All right.
And I was exactly here at 10
All right.
to.
But director is adding me some more time, right? Let's now continue with especially what we're seeing, that we have a crowdsourcing and propaganda that is happening also through the social media. A lot of young people are actually being recruited through the social media. It is not about people now, or the Al-Shabaab recruits having sleeper cells within the country and recruiting these people here. Also, internet is there. What is the strategy that the government also is coming up with? Because we see young girls, teenagers right now, they want to be ISIS brides, right? And some of them, they have been caught up they've been actually been arrested by security officials. What is the strategy from your end, and how will you highlight this, or how are you planning to highlight this in the conference?
Part of the conference is really we are bringing all this. We have brought experts from all over the world.
Yes.
Expert in every field, expert in the religion, education, in all these areas, which they will be the first people in the conference. For example, the conference starts tomorrow. The deputy president will open, okay, will set the stage by opening the conference both for the ministers and the experts. That's now when we shall develop these issues they will bring in on board. We are covering the media, which involve the social media, the internet. We have brought an expert from the Google, who will be Jafet Cohen, a real expert in the whole of the world. He was even in the White House summit, and I personally talked to him, and he accepted to come. So we want to introduce a strategy for the media, especially so that we do three things in the media, or two very specific things. The narratives, okay, and the messaging. We must send we must create certain message to counter the messages of the ideology of extremists. So that messaging, those narratives which will be developed, that will be a strategy to counter this. And it will be very, very important to follow, especially NTV. You are a great institution. It will be very important for you to follow, and all the media houses in this country, whatever the strategy will come out as regard to the internet, the whatever, you should be able to help. You should be a partner in this, to be able to help us to counter these damaging messages which radicalize our youth.
All right, but I want to play you a clip where you're really castigating the media because of a reportage that you say sometimes it is very misinformed, right? And you've been castigating the media and saying, the media, you're not getting it right. Let's just listen in and hear what you had to say. Then you will comment on that, right? My director is telling me he's looking out for it. Yeah, but you've been actually seeing the media is not correctly reporting what is happening on the ground. Isn't that the case?
No. Let me put a very strong message to the media. I am a very true friend of the media, and I speak openly to the media. My advantage to this is that when I attended a course in the United States, one of the modules in my course was the military officer and the media. You tell the media on the need-to-know basis. You must give the need-to-know, when the media requests, you tell because they need to know that specific issue. So I've never castigated the media, and this is really, I want to put the record straight.
All right, let's listen.
I am a very good friend, but sometimes the media spins the truth on the ground.
Okay.
And sometimes it creates despondency, especially when you criticize your security organs negatively. You are also telling the enemy that your security organs are useless. So when you look at the developed world, they never negatively criticize their security organ. They can tell us in the camera that you have gone wrong, you've gone astray here. But as I speak to you, in the media, even the Al-Shabaab through YouTube, they are also saying
It's true.
So we need to be concerned also as a media, and responsible as a media. That has been my concern.
All right. Well, let's just listen in, then we get to see where exactly maybe the mismatch of information is arising from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Giving misinformation will create despondency, will create fear. The Constitution has given the media freedom, but the Constitution did not give the media freedom to create fear for the citizen. Beginning now, that's why I'm giving this statement. The fellows at the State House, they should get this message also right. If they give in misinformation, we'll get hold of them. And action is being looked into on how we are going to deal with the source of that misinformation. Unless you get information from the spokesman of the Ministry of Interior or a spokesman from the National Police Service or the spokesman from the government, from State House, any information about security operation, anybody giving misinformation will be held accountable, and the law will be allowed to take its course.
Right. Mheshimiwa, there seems to be a problem also just within government when it comes to relaying information, because as media, we are just conduits, right, of relaying this information. So we rely on what the government will give us, but there is a mismatch on what is really happening between also your ministry and State House, right? That's why you say they need to be responsible. So how are we also going to believe that the message we're getting from the ground, especially from these two institutions, has some veracity?
I quite agree with you. There is no coordination between government institutions. First and foremost, we have kind of a mania for media, for publicity. Majority of our people, before you verify any specific information, you rush to the media. And the media, as you put it, is a conveyor of this message to the public. And so, occasionally we criticize you, but the mistake is ours. So I think when I gave that statement, we have now agreed that we will be coordinating on how to inform the nation on issues security. And so I think human is to error, you know. So occasionally we may get into this problem here and there, but we intend to correct as we go along.
All right. Mheshimiwa, I think also we'll need to come back and discuss about this strategy. Once you unveil a strategy, we'll come back and then we'll have a more robust discussion on this. Well, I'll be remiss also to let you go if I don't ask about, you know, your principal secretary, right? You are actually saying that you want the president to resubmit Juma's name and for MPs to look beyond personal interest. This is what you say. If my director may just pick up on this so that also you might read. To look beyond personal interest and work for the good of our nation and not deny Kenyans the best service. There you have it. Do you think what the MPs are doing to your principal secretary is fair? Briefly, as we're winding up.
Well, first of all, let me say Ambassador Juma. Ambassador Monica Juma is a fine officer of the government. He's an extremely devoted, an extremely honest, and extremely hard-working person. And when she was denied the position of Secretary of the Cabinet by Parliament, which Parliament has their own reasons, I thought it was very unfair.
Yes.
And really, I have to put this very, very, very clear that there was no reason why Monica was denied that position. It was not because of her stability to that position. It was purely, I don't want to delve deep into that area. And you know, Parliament has got its own reasons for that, but I think it was very unfair, and it denied this country a very, very good the services of a great officer, but I am personally happy that Monica will remain my principal secretary. We are doing a good job together. Yeah.
Right. Mheshimiwa, thank you very much. I think we'll continue with this discussion after the conference and explore what the strategy is, and moving forward, are we still operational strategy? And we continue apace with that particular conversation we had, and looking at a raft of other issues here in the country as well, as pertaining security, where we keep an eye on the enemy every Wednesday here on Standing on Guard. Let's just begin with Professor Nomi Damba, because we didn't hear from you when we were actually introducing that particular clip. Looking at what Nkaissery really held as you know, the general and the minister of Interior in the country in terms of that particular docket, did you think that he felt or he fitted very snugly within that particular ministry?
Debarl, let me react to, like my colleagues here have done, and the general Kenya population. I think the segment we just did will be classic and will send a very powerful message to the citizen of these countries and beyond about what this man stands for. So we joined his family and the nation in mourning a real true patriot. As a general, this man contributed significantly to creating a sense of peace and a sense of discipline. After really the disaster, Westgate and also Garissa situation. As a law enforcement officer, there was a mixed bag in terms of his achievement. While the country was more disciplined and everything, his pronouncement, I think, went beyond the constitutional duty. For instance, when he say we will have tear gas, you know, for everyone, an attempt to withdraw a firearm from Joho and take his bodyguard was clearly pivot on the constitutional issues. But overall, he was highly respected, highly disciplined in terms of the way he carries his duty, and a real true patriot when you look at it. There is one aspect of him which most people are not talking about. He was a philanthropist who is really committed to the children and young people in his community. There were a number of really touchy reactions from his community among young people and parents, and how he took care of their school fees and do all those kind of things. This is something you don't see among many of the leaders, but he was able to project that image. So he will go down in Kenya history as a man who really made a difference. That's where I'm coming.
Right. Dr. Mumwaza.
Yeah, very nice. One thing we must agree, and this one is a fact, is that we had a strong wave of terror attacks right from 2012 or thereabout through to, of course, Westgate. That was September, and then the next year in Mpeketoni, July, and then, of course, 2015 with late April, Garissa. But since then, on the whole, to a large extent, up to, we can say, even 85%, going 90%, that has changed. And state does not operate in terms of one person, but it needs coordination. It needs leadership at the strategic, operational, and tactical level. And I think that's what General Nkaissery provided. And security in this country has improved. It is firm. And as we go into the elections, I am sure we are in an optimal state of things. And Kenya we are going to prove to the world that we are not short of sons and daughters. We are going to have people he has trained, for example, in some of these dockets. There are officers he has trained these officers here will tell you, there are people who are even who can assist, for example, CS Matiangi operationally, come in maybe as within the PS level, as special. In fact, General Nkaissery himself was once stationed at OP as a special military advisor to the head of state. So we have them, and therefore, if there's anyone, because I saw very bad tweets attacking him directly and such things, and of course those are myopic minds. That anyone celebrating this kind of thing, you know, you're wrong, because what he has is going to live on, and this is government policy, and that's the way things are going to be.
All right, Dr. Mustafa.
Yeah, Debarl, the perfectionist nature of the late Major General Nkaissery meant that he was simply effective and efficient in the way he was doing things. And he was very smart and sharp beyond the military and hard issues of military in nature. I saw him in your interview with him clearly explaining the conceptual issues and the differences of radicalization, extremism, violent extremism, and the necessary strategies to address those issues at each and every of those 4 stages. That level of understanding, when these are very new issues, very new conceptual frameworks that even scholars are trying to develop to address the issues of violent extremism and terrorism, is really, really excellent. And this meant that we really had a very intelligent general who was steering the ship of security in this country very well. It is going to be very difficult to replace such a man.
All right, thank you. All right, let's hear from Captain Wanderi.
Debarl, General Joseph Nkaissery was a remarkable man. This is a man who left the pioneer class at Kenyatta University to join the cadet course and become a military officer. So those are some of the attributes you see in terms of intellectual capability and his technical expertise in handling the matters that we have seen. Let me put it into context. After the attack in September 2013 at Westgate and the subsequent attacks in Garissa and in Lamu, there was a lot of accusations flying around in terms of what was said to be a failure of intelligence and law enforcement. In other words, there was no synergy among the various organs, security organs of the state. And after the Garissa attack, the nation felt as if we were under siege. In fact, there were accusations of incompetence on the then Minister for Security, Joseph Nkaissery, and the then Inspector General of Police, David Kimaiyo. And subsequently, they were replaced, and General Nkaissery was appointed as Minister for Security. Joseph Boynet was appointed as the Inspector General. Now, you have to see something, and this is the legacy that General Nkaissery leaves Kenya with. General Nkaissery, having participated in what are known as military silver operations in North Rift in the 80s, where he was called upon to assist in the disarmament of warring pastoral communities.
Yes.
He understood the essence of cooperation and seamless integration between the various security organs. And these are the strategies that we have consistently seen since he took over. That is the integration of intelligence, the intelligence service, the military, the military arm, as well as law enforcement.
Yes.
And this is the upshot of it is one Operation Leader Boni, which is civilian-led but has all the components of the multi-agency team. In other words, General Nkaissery stopped the sibling rivalry between the various security organs and brought in what you would call an integrated, cohesive command in tackling national threats to national security. That legacy is the legacy that will linger forever. It will live forever. Whether General Nkaissery is alive or not, his legacy, and that's why we say generals do not die. generals and old soldiers do not die. They just fade away. But his memories, his physical embodiment is not with us, but is the memory of his strategies, what he put in place to protect the nation as a patriot, will live forever.
Thank you. Let's hear from Captain Perunga.
Many good things have been said. I want to tackle this on two fronts. One, on a personal level. I'll tell you this, General Nkaissery never forgets the people who have gone through him. And I remember when he was appointed the cabinet secretary, and I want to speak this in relation to his ability and his sharpness and intellect. The moment he was appointed the Minister for Interior, I remember we met once in the corridors of Harambee House, and he told me, Captain, I want you to come to my office. I say this because sometimes we hear some military officers who, to me, we have very sharp military officers, but we have some who have very short minds, have small brains. General Nkaissery knew I was a captain, but he also knew that I left the military 20 years ago. So I must have gone some through growth to be what I am. He called me many times. I'll not go into those details. But at one point, I remember we were in a closed-door meeting with governors. And there was an issue that came up, and I was actually moderating that function. And when he was asked a question, I remember him telling governors, that person asking me to answer that question should answer you that question. And he was pointing at me and saying, that is the person who understands what you people are asking for. And therefore all of us laughed, and I told him, no, sir, you know, you're the minister here, and you're the general. So answer it, then I'll put in my civil aspects of what you need to answer them. What am I saying? General Nkaissery took his mantle with a lot of astuteness. He's a person who understood that there are other people around him who can give him some word or two, that there are other people outside his docket who can actually assist him in thinking. And to me, that speaks to a person who understands that the world does not revolve around your rank. The world does not revolve around your position. The world has other people who can assist you and who have the capacity to give you one or two things to add on what you already have. Now, that is the kind of person the president appointed to the serious docket of Interior. And it required a person who has the generalship in him, the astuteness of a leader, the intellect of a performer. And when you combine all those things, that was General Nkaissery. And therefore, even as my friend here says, there are other people who can take his mantle. Yes, we know there are other generals. Yes, we know there are other senior military officers or other senior people. But I can tell you, Wanderi is here with me. He knows how some of our colleagues behave, how they think. But General Nkaissery had the capacity to put all those together and bring people he thought can assist him, can think a bit for him, and actual advice on what needed to be done. That is the rare quality of a leader. And I'm not saying because he's dead. That is the rare quality of a leader. This is a person who will ask people like us, come and tell me ABCD. What do you think? And we'll do it without shouting to the heavens. And therefore, those kind of leaders who have made it through into a general are very rare to have those qualities, that they have the capacity to listen, to be told by people, to have a general collegiate sort of thinking, and therefore when they are making a decision, they make it from an informed position. And then lastly, I think on the issue of what Wanderi has said, we had a lot of problems in this country in terms of, in fact, the president once used the word vain competition, you know, among security organs, where the police will be blaming the intelligence, and the intelligence will be blaming what, and the military will be. So that vain competition, there was need to create some working relationship. And that is the time when we came up with this interagency. Yes. And during his tenure, General Nkaissery actually made it work so well that it got to a point where some people started imagining there are equals within those interagency frameworks. For example, we know the lead agency in terms of national security is the national police. And even as you work with other organs of state, the people who meet with Kenyans and the people who are supposed to secure us is the Kenya police. So, but at some point you realize the National Counterterrorism Center wants to take charge of terrorism, and when you look at their mandate, it's very specific. So whatever they do in terms of coordinating and collaborating with other agencies, General Nkaissery made it sure that the police took their space and did their work. Of course, we have our own problems about how police operate, sometimes how they do their things. But I think the legacy, and I want to repeat, two things: leadership, coordination, and the creation of interagency. That is something that has worked so well. Why is it that way? Because when the Constitution was promulgated, there are some deficiencies that people never saw. For example, although the county commissioner was the chairperson of the County Security and Intelligence Committee,
yes,
you'll find that the police will not listen to him. The APs will not work with the Kenya police. The intelligence will not work with these fellows. And I speak from my own point, because when we were with the National Task Force on Community Policing, we used to encounter this. And therefore, when this issue of interagency was brought, some structuring of the police, that's when we started having county coordinators amongst the two police units. That's when things started working. And all this was done under the reign of General Nkaissery. Therefore, there's a lot that this general has done to this country. And I think for some time, without overplaying our praise to the general, he brought things in order, and it will take time to get somebody who has all the three things that I told you to come and take over that office under this new dispensation of the Constitution.